right, welcome back to what's going to be an amazing Boots on Ground episode. We have with us Melissa Kwan. Melissa, thank you for joining us. Bootstrapping to Billions.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
All right, so this is going to be an amazing Boots on Ground episode. We have the journey that you've gone through, a decade plus bootstrapping businesses, multiple success under the belt, as well as the journey that you're currently on with eWebinar. You have the Profit-Led podcast. You have your Founder Next Door newsletter. You have the content that you're creating on LinkedIn, of which I am a massive fan of all of it. I'm extremely excited to be able to do this episode. This has been on my checklist of, as we're rolling out this pod, Bootstrapping to Billions, who I want to get on this. Actually, we even having the LinkedIn threads like before the pod even launched. Like, I got to get Melissa on. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much.
So getting into it today, there's a lot to cover. There's a decade of content for us to uncover. Everything starts somewhere. And I think in this situation, it's relevant for us to get back to the beginning, get back to the roots, because where you started is actually also, as we story arc this, where you're potentially landing as well today. Take us back. Where did things start in terms of your bootstrapping journey?
I mean, I started my first company 15 years ago after quitting the last job I had was at SAP, where I was inside sales. Living in Vancouver at the time. I mean, I've since moved to New York, since then also left New York, moved to Amsterdam, nomaded for a few years, sitting with you today in London. But I guess when I first started my company, I didn't realize people could raise money. Like, it wasn't a real thing. Like, Vancouver was not like a tech hub like San Francisco or London or New York, right? So I remember when I quit my job, like, we didn't have co-working spaces. There was just meetup.com where you would go to a restaurant and talk about your ideas, and that would happen once a month. So that was like the startup community. And there wasn't such thing as accelerators or VCs, at least that I'd known of. And that really developed in the year that I quit. So I just wanted to start my own business. I was always really envious of my friends who could just hop into the family business or start a business with their parents. My parents didn't have that. Like, they weren't entrepreneurs. My dad worked in the same company for 40 years. My mom was a housewife. So I just wasn't exposed to that, but I was always curious. And so I left SAP because I felt like I didn't really want to be told what to do anymore. I was never really that good of an employee. I always bounced around to different companies. I hated waking up in the morning. And at SAP, I was working in the West Coast, but my region was East Coast. So I had to be in the office at 5:45 in the morning to start hitting the phones at like 9 a.m. on the East Coast. So I just hated that schedule. And so I just wanted to start a business. I didn't really know what that was. I didn't even know a technology business was called a startup. And I had probably like 10 to 15 different ideas. I worked with a contractor on it before we hit the one, like a year and a half, 2 years after I quit my job, that people started paying for. So my first company, we built an iPad app, which by the time, like at that time, it was a new product. Like, we were building apps for this new thing called the iPad, and it was like these interactive magazine apps almost that would replace coffee table books when you walked into a residential real estate pre-sale center. So before a unit is built, they built this showroom, and when you walked in, you would get like a really nice brochure. So we were the interactive brochure for that, and salespeople could log in and see inventory. So it was also kind of a sales tool. So, I mean, as soon as I got out of university, I spent about 3 years in real estate on the business side, worked for developers, sat in showrooms, also had my sales agent license. So I worked, under different realtors, sat in open houses for the weekend. So previous to technology, like real estate was I guess my first professional experience. And so the first company lasted a few years. We wanted it to be a product, but everybody wanted to customize. And because we were bootstrapped, we said yes to everything. And before you knew it, we were an agency that built iPad apps, iPad marketing apps for real estate developers. And anyone who'd built an agency in the past would know that you're chasing the deal and then you're chasing the invoice. But then nobody wants to pay the invoice. It's never really net 30. It's like net 180. So, but you can't cut them off.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you can't cut them off because then you won't get the next deal or, whatnot. So, the first company transitioned into my second company, Spaceo, which was our first real product company. And it was an open house check-in product. So
Mhm.
If you walked into an open house, you'd sign in on a piece of paper. We were the iPad and web version of that. So we sold to brokerages and franchises to give as a benefit to agents, to real estate agents for joining their company. And that company we ran for 4 years before I sold it to a mid-sized company in the industry. And then I was there for a couple more years. So eWebinar, I started 2 months after I sold Spaceo. And eWebinar was started to solve a very particular problem that I personally live with in Spaceo, which was doing the exact same webinar over and over again for any sort of demos, onboarding, any sort of training. Because when you sell a product into a company, that's like your first day, I guess, of your last day with them if they don't adopt the product. So
Yeah.
if they don't adopt the product, it's never your fault, right? It's never their fault, it's your fault. So after I sold the product into the company, I was also responsible for getting their agents on board. So I remember at my peak, I was doing 8 of these onboarding demos back to back.
Mhm.
And the more companies I sold to, the worse that problem got. And because we were bootstrapped, I was everything except for code. I never hired another person to take over that because all the money we had, we would hire developers and like
Mhm.
designers and things like that to improve on the product. So I was always envisioning this perfect product that would turn a video into an interactive webinar so I wouldn't have to do the same one over and over again.
Mhm.
So eWebinar was almost conceptualized for the 5 years that I was working at Spaceo. So that was really kind of the one idea that would keep me up at night. Because I while I sold Spaceo, I didn't sell it for retirement level money. I did sell it for life-changing money at the time because we never really had any money.
Mhm.
I didn't even have a credit card until Spaceo was acquired. Like all my credit cards were maxed out. My credit was super bad. I had so much debt under my name that I had to pay off. And so, yeah, we started eWebinar shortly after, and I've been running that for about 5 years ever since.
So we have 15 years to just
15 years.
unpack that you just covered. And everything starts somewhere. All right, we're going to take a quick break from today's episode for a shout out of our sponsor, Gelt. We've been working with sponsors that we know, we like, and we trust, and Gelt is one of them. We've had Tal on the podcast in the past, and the Gelt teams joined us for a world-class boot camp webinar on year-end tax end savings, where we learned that a lot of founders think taxes are just the cost of your own business, but if they're done right, they can actually drive growth. And that's exactly why I like Gelt. Their expert CPAs, supported by in-house AI tools, keep everything accurate, organized, and tax efficient so that every dollar you earn works even harder for you. I know that there's a handful of case studies on their site. You should check them out. One of them highlights a tech executive who was maxing everything out. She thought she was doing everything right. Her name was Laura. But once she got connected with the Gelt team, they helped her go even further and optimized her stock portfolio, mortgage deductions, real estate tax planning, and charitable strategy. In the end, she ended up saving well over $30,000 in annual taxes. Gelt is offering our community 10% off your first year. Just mention Bootstrapper on your complimentary free one-on-one session with one of their CPAs, and you'll get that 10%. In order to do so, head over to joingelt.com. Again, that's joingelt.com. Mention Bootstrapper, get 10% off. Now back to today's episode. In the day job, started with that. I realized the goal became finding a fit because that just wasn't it. You needed out. You needed something different. You had background experience in terms of real estate.
Yeah.
So you felt you had a level of familiarity with the industry. And when you were looking to do something, that's where the eyes trended. And you took this moment in time opportunity of the iPad popping up, and it's this new technology, this new medium we could probably position and sell, and there's something to create there. So let's do it. Created this digital brochure for the industry in which you were familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
That then converted into agency work, which then converted into I need different work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which spun out Spaceo, which was actually the SaaS that again served the core problem where you were almost essentially living. So
Yeah.
again, you were feeling it and you built to that. And then that eventually got to the exit. And now we are where we are with eWebinar, which again solved the problem that you were experiencing there. So a couple of cycles here in terms of identification of starting, and then from a starting to identify, hey, this was a good place to start. which
Yeah.
audience listening, a lot of folks listening right now, we say, we break down exits to 5 different exits. Exit 1 is exit your day job, make your business your job. And exit 5 is go on and sell your business, exit your business, and then all the exits in between, right? Building an ownable business. You've done all of it. You've done it multiple times. Folks listening, many of them are just getting started. How did you know when you hit it? So how did you know that you found the right problem to solve
Mhm.
and to build a business around? And you could pick
Well,
any of those
it's very
opportunities
different, right?
because you got multiple.
I mean, best indication is somebody pays you
Mm-hmm.
and that's not your friend, right? Like kind of like the 10 unassociated customers thing. But when I quit my day job, I wasn't like, "Oh, let's go build something for real estate." Like that didn't because I was so green, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. Like I guess in hindsight it would really make sense that you like combine your experiences together and you build a product that solves, a problem that you know.
Yeah,
But
yourself 2 years
I
ago.
just
Yeah.
wanted to build a business, right? I was 27
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that I could build anything and people would come and buy it. And I never thought about marketing or distribution, all those hard things that people talk about today. Like
Mm-hmm.
this was 15 years ago. People didn't talk about those things. They didn't post on LinkedIn. There was no Substack. There wasn't a community you could learn from. Like maybe in tech hubs, but I wasn't in a tech hub.
Mm-hmm.
So all the mistakes that I made, I had to make firsthand. Like I was so green that I didn't realize if you if a designer told you they would give you something on Friday, it could be Friday next year. Like I thought that everyone would just do what they said they would do, right? And
Yeah.
so I had all these different ideas. Like I had like a local events app idea, kind of like a local like magazine idea, like but I didn't really think about content needing refreshing. Like I had all these different ideas and it was only when I was like maybe 2 3 months away from running out of money and this is all my personal savings that I was like, okay, what have we actually built in the last year and a half and what can we commercialize?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, we have this really cool magazine we built on the iPad that we mimicked after, Rob Report, which was a luxury magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just put real estate information in there and let me go talk to my buddies? And that
Mm-hmm.
was the first time we made a sale.
Yeah. So it was the make money moment that actually triggered it
Yeah,
for you. It was make money, and then you found where the sale lived.
well,
You
I was so
sold it,
desperate.
sell it, make it, exit it. Yeah, you
Well,
sold it.
I think desperation breeds creativity. And when you have a lot of savings,
And action.
you always think that, oh, I can, in 2 months I'll be fine. And then, 6 months go by, 12 months go by, 18 months go by, and you're like, I have no more savings. So what do I do now? So that was like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, I was like, okay, I can't do agency work anymore. I literally still I still work for people. They're just my clients and then they don't pay me.
Mm-hmm.
So I need some kind of regular income stream. But at that point, I had already learned about SaaS businesses and all those different things. I was like deep into the real estate tech industry. I was traveling to New York every second month just to like network with the industry. Cause like anyone like in real estate, I guess operates in New York. And I just found kind of an open house product because I used to sit in open houses. And even when I was working for developers, I would sit in those showrooms and get people to sign in on a piece of paper, but they would purposely kind of scribble so you don't get back to them. So this kind of check-in product was kind of just marrying, okay, what we've been building on the iPad and the technology know-how that we know that we have on those platforms. And we kind of married it with like, okay, this is a problem that I know we have or in
Mm-hmm.
the industry. And I know there isn't kind of an industry leading product that solves that.
Yeah.
So it was still hard, but by the way, it's even though I knew I was building something for open houses, it took 2 years before we made our first $10.
Yeah, help me understand that. So the question, when do you know? When do you find out? Sell 10 folks. And then it's not necessarily even just sell 10 folks. It's sell 10 folks that are happy paying you and you're happy getting paid from.
Well,
So the
yeah.
agency didn't do it because that's not necessarily happy on
Well,
the
those are one-off
backside.
sales. Those are one-off sales, right? So it's not a product sale, right? And it's also selling 10 people that are not your friends, right? And that are excited to give you feedback. And at that point, I think it was like a self-serve product. So we didn't go enterprise yet. We just had like something online, but we knew we wanted to build something for open houses, but it was really complicated. Like it wasn't a check-in form. It was like, we had a hardware component where you put in the open house, and then we had a software component that you installed in your phone where you walk into a house and it would ping your phone. Like there were so many moving parts.
Yeah, and that was a different moment in time too, for sure.
And that was another learning that somebody told me, innovation is changing the way someone does something forever. But a lot of times that leap is incremental. It's not like a giant leap for mankind, right? We're made to think that innovation has to be something so different, but people can't imagine and can't comprehend something that is too different than what they're doing today.
Mm.
So we actually spent another year and a half, almost 2 years, just dumping money into creating different versions of an open house product. Before, again, I was like 2 months away from running out of money, but now I had a real team. It was just wasn't just myself, right? Because the way that we started that company is we took all the revenue that we made from the first company, and then we took a loan against that. So now I'm again in the negative, and we took it to start Spaceo. So we had a few $100,000 that we were spending. We're just burning it. But also, I'd never built a true SaaS company before. I tried to, but I didn't. And so I remember I made a promise to myself to leave no stone unturned. So I would talk to anybody with money, any family and friend, any VC. And I was talking to a VC that was working out of the co-working space that I was at in New York at the time. It was around Union Square. Because I had already moved to New York for this company to be around the industry.
And what year for reference?
Oh, it's probably like 10 years ago now, 9 years ago.
2015.
And he was like, that it seems like there's something here, but the product is too complicated. He's like, I think you need to strip everything away and just be the thing, like have a core function that everybody does. Well, everybody walks into an open house and they sign in. Why don't you just start with that? And I'm like, well, that's too simple of a product. And he's like, no, but like you need to think about getting your first 10 customers and then 100 and then 1,000. Nobody starts off getting 1,000 customers. So then I walked out of that meeting. I called my co-founder. I'm like, this is the feedback that I got. What do you think? And he was like, well, we have nothing else to lose. So ironically, we stripped away 95% of our product down to the sign-in form that, like he said, everybody was doing at the time. And that's when we got our first customer. And then over the years, we re-added some things that we had. But we built on the core product of this being a sign-in form. And that's where I learned my biggest lesson ever is you need to keep things super simple.
Yeah, keep it simple for sure. If you have folks listening right now that are literally living this and they're going through this experience, let's talk through some different mental models they could apply towards finding that singular point of constraint, like the most simple thing.
And that's the thing, like, this is the problem is when we were bleeding edge, we had like a beacon and then we had this other thing. It would ping the beacon. Like there were so many things that like the media thought was the shiny object and they wrote about it. And people like beta users, by the way, not real customers. It's not a real customer until they pay you. So beta users are not, they're not customers. And beta users were excited to come on board to try it, but they weren't sticky. They would use it once and they would bounce because guess what? They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So I confused media validation with customer validation. They are not the same thing.
Yes.
In fact, when we became an open house product, like a sign-in form, nobody would write about us because it was so boring.
Yeah.
But guess what? We started making money.
Yeah, you got to find the metrics that matter.
It took 2 years to make our first $10 and then another year to break even on the small team that we have, and then another year to be acquired. So it actually doesn't matter if other people talk about you. What matters is customers pay you. The only money you need, especially as a bootstrapper, is from your customers.
Yeah, the best investor of all time. Happy paying customers. For sure, without a doubt. So you found the metrics that matter and you weren't being distracted by these things that were kind of accolades that really don't. And that's something that folks can get caught up in. Actually, our last episode, that was a conversation we had for sure. Very real, lived, learned lessons. In this situation, you got to the most bare bones with Spaceo and you started to solve real problems and people were paying you for it. In terms of adding on or adding back the feature functionality, How did you approach that? Were you getting folks to kind of do the same thing, like pay us for this, and then we will? Or how did
I
you
mean,
continue to develop and design to the point of exit?
especially as a small company, I think the only metric that matters is the voice of your customer. Like literally nothing matters. Even today with eWebinar, like we don't really measure anything. We have metrics in place, but we don't look at them. Right? Like I think it's easy to be like, "Oh, you should measure everything and do this and do that." And that's what consultants say. But you have enough customer feedback once you have a good set of customers, raving fans that use your product, that you know what you need to build, and also a gut feeling because you should have experience already with solving the problem that you're solving. I think there is a point where customers run out of imagination. Like there is nothing right now that we could ask our customers what they need that we haven't already built. So we have to imagine, okay, what is the thing that could really help them, and try to read between the lines, right? And in the beginning, it was pretty funny because we were trying to make like $10 each, right? As like real estate agents were signing up, but of course we weren't building up revenue fast enough. And I was like, my past, like in my I guess my competitive advantage is actually selling enterprise because of my SAP days. So at the same time, I was trying to sell to like companies like brokerages. So they would be like, okay, do you have a brokerage like enterprise version of this? The first person asked that. I'm like, of course. We're building it right now. In fact, we're doing customer interviews. So we'd love to ask you what you need. So we basically just used that and did customer interviews with people who might buy the product. We built everything that they wanted, and then we sold it back to them. So that's what happened for Spaceo. But the biggest lesson I learned for Spaceo, which I took into eWebinar and how we started making money from day one in eWebinar, is Spaceo was kind of a blue ocean product. So there wasn't really a product that filled that space. And I by the way, I've written a lot of content about this, is when you're a blue ocean product, there's nobody educating the market with you. And customers don't have a line item for this budget, especially when you're selling enterprise. Like you've got 100% of budget already allocated. This product has no ROI. No one's using it. No one says it's good. Why do I have to buy it? So getting Spaceo off the ground was really difficult.
Because what were you competing against?
Well, nothing.
A sheet of paper
Exactly.
and a pen, right?
Exactly. So they're like, well, what is the ROI? Are people going to use it? Are people going to buy more? Is it going to make my company look good? And you have to just find those companies that are willing to take a chance with you, like first. It's like that adoption curve, right? It starts off like very slow, right? And so we went through that curve. And
was it the brokerage that unlocked things for you? So was it the ability to sell a singular account that resulted in more?
It just took a long time. Like it wasn't really until like the 30 or 40th customer that like that the conversations started a little bit easier. Because also when you're a small startup and you have no customers, guess what people want from you? They want this product for free. They want the product for free, and they tell you that, hey, I am the #1 brokerage in my area. If you give it to me for free, everyone's going to copy me and everyone's going to buy from you. That will never happen. If you don't value yourself, nobody else will. You have to charge for everyone. But we increased prices slowly, kind of as we got more customers. But every sale was independent, right? Every sale was still hard. Like we hustled super hard, right? And luckily, we sold this company in 2019. But what I learned from that is don't build something where you are the first mover unless you are prepared for the time it takes to get there. So like, but there's lots of examples in the past, right? Airbnb, Uber, like all of those are blue ocean, but they raise tons of money.
Yeah, it's a
right. So
different
they
model.
have those, so they have time, and they have time, like they have money to throw at customers and throw at advertisement. But when you're a small startup, you don't. So one of my friends actually told me this. He was like, he noticed this, right? He was like, your first 2 companies were hard for you because they're like, you're both first to market. You're the only one screaming, at the top of the mountains to say, buy this, it's good. And actually, this is a friend that he's like in consumer products, but his competitive advantage is he's really good at spotting businesses and be second to market and be the best second to market. Right. It's like Excel and Word and all that wasn't like first to market, but they they have the biggest market absorption. So he's like, you just need to find something that someone else is already doing and build a better light bulb.
Yeah, that's a great way to find, yeah, a way to make money
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
other people, like, how do you know there's going to be a business model? How do you know it's viable? Because someone else is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, eWebinar is not a brand new product. In my past, when I said I live with a problem, I used every single automated webinar software out there. I tried because I wanted to solve my own problem. I wasn't trying to build it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just didn't want to do my own like repetitive onboardings and trainings.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them were built to the level that I wanted it to be, and none of them had the features that I wanted. So when we were building eWebinar, I already knew that there was a problem out there that people were paying money for.
Mm-hmm.
And we just set out to be the best solution on the market for this particular thing.
Yeah, I
So
feel
we
like
started
for
making
folks
money.
listening, that's a great place to start. Some folks listening, they're just getting started. Great place to start is to look at yourself a couple of years back. What's something painful enough that you pay for, and then go do
Yeah.
that thing maybe. That's a great, and that seems to be what this journey has been. What I want to do, because I want to keep tempo of conversation, and I want to capture as much value as I possibly can for everybody at all exits listening. Uh, you went through this moment in time of an exit. So 2019 was an exit. There's two
Yeah.
things that I want to pull out of this moment in time. One is that journey and that experience itself, like actually
Yeah.
going through the exit. And then perhaps even more uniquely, the fact that 2 months later, eWebinar exists. And I
Yeah.
think that there's some sort of conversation and story that I want to tap into in terms of that as well. Let's get to the exit. So we're building the business. It's 4 years in, things are finally going, right?
Yeah.
It was a year and a half or 2 years to get to a break even, and then another to get profitable, and then another to essentially exit
Yeah.
realistically. Why? So why did we decide to get to the exit? I'm making the assumption that it was a decision because you bootstrapped. So first question would be, was it fully bootstrapped all the way through? Retention of equity and ownership throughout, and then causality, like what was the why behind the exit? Was it something you
Yeah. I
wanted or
mean,
something came to you?
it was bootstrapped in the sense that like we didn't have institutional money. So like my uncle like put in a bit of money, and then we had like a partner that put in some money, but then we ended up buying him out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somewhere along the way, because he would like call me every month to be like, when do I get my money back? So there's no free money,
Yeah.
right? So there was like some friends and family, but like we own like I think 95 or 96% of the company, myself and my co-founder when we sold,
Yeah.
which was the only reason why we could sell.
How did
Because
you
if we had
structure that
it
capital then? Did you structured it as notes or?
was just a convertible note.
Yeah.
Everything was like very vanilla.
Yeah.
Like that's how you need to do it, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
have any like you have to prepare your company as if you might raise money in the future. Otherwise, like you don't even have that opportunity.
Yeah, you got to give yourself the
Yeah.
maneuverability.
So
Yeah.
it was, but I mean, I bootstrapped that company because in the beginning, nobody would give me money. And then eventually I got to profitability instead.
And you didn't
And
need
then
it.
I realized I had all the freedom, whereas my VC back buddies were like constantly trying to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like my life more. And I write, by the way, a lot about this. And this is what my newsletter is about, is that journey. But I sold because I was just tired of it. Like there was no fancy story, at that point, I'd run a business for 5 years before that. I was like 9 years into entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
never had money to spend. I'm 36 or 37 and I'm still like looking at prices on the menu before I look at the item.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends are buying first apartments, getting married, having their first kid. I'm still living like a college student
Mm-hmm.
because like while like, I would always pay everyone first. And the only reason we could pay everyone was because they were in Canada, so their salaries were lower. But I wasn't paying myself. I didn't really get a real salary and and it was a Canadian salary until I sold my company. I was always paying myself like 40K a year. Like
Mm-hmm.
barely livable, right? Having like 4 other roommates in New York. And at that point like it gets kind of tiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while it was a pretty good business, I didn't see the opportunity for it to be a great business.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the opportunity cost of me spending time there and not doing something else was too big because the product was too niche, right? It was an open house product. So it was really for North America, but really for the US because of the real estate business model. It was like, and real estate is very regionalized. You can't take this product and sell it in the UK. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was also for like in the US, there's 1.5 million agents. 80% of them don't do a lot of business. And then so you've got 20% of active agents, and only a percentage of those would ever host an open house. And then a percentage of those would ever go digital. That's how small we're talking. So, yes, it could have been okay, but we wouldn't have gotten rich off of it.
Hmm.
But it was a business, it was a product that was going to be really good in someone else's suite of products.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend who was also in real estate tech, he was looking to exit his own company, and he was looking to kind of like buy revenue, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if any SaaS business, once you hit 10 million, you get a different multiple. And he was kind of gunning for that exit. And we were profitable, we were buyable, we were small, we were in Canada. Like we had all the elements to be a good purchase. And because we had some marquee customers that they could cross-sell, and it was a very natural fit into their suite of products, that it just became an easy buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a friend of mine. We knew each other really well. And I think what people don't really think about when you're kind of sick of building your business as a founder is like, you don't just get to sell this company and leave. You have to work for this company for at least 2 years usually, right? And he was one of the few people in the industry I would actually work for. And so I was actually like complaining to him about how hard this was. And he was like, well, maybe we can just buy you instead. So we were his first acquisition. And I thought he was kidding. Like I didn't really know like how big that company was.
Mm-hmm.
So the exit came that way, and it was a huge relief, like huge relief, because for the first time I actually had money in my account.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get a credit card again, right? Even though it was secured, and like start building my credit again. And because of that, I say it was life-changing because of that, I was able to buy my first home, right? And have some security that way, and just like have some savings and not feel like I'm suffocating every day.
Yeah, so let's live in that. So let's sink into that. There's three different things that we could tap into. The first is the livable wage concept of being the owner, bootstrapping the business, paying everybody else first, yourself last, and that putting you in a position of potential burnout for longevity.
Yeah.
In reliving that, do you feel like there's a better way?
Yes,
Let's get
I
into that.
think. But it's like if I would have known, but I couldn't have known, right?
Yeah.
And I think everything starts from the idea. And this is what I didn't know, right? It's like the blue ocean thing versus the purple ocean thing that we're doing for eWebinar, right? Had I known how to vet an idea better, right? Had I known what it would take to get a blue ocean startup off the ground, or had I known how to, I guess, value like total addressable market in the
Mhm.
sense of like, what is the market that I have access to now? It's more like total accessible market, right? Not addressable market.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have even chose that business.
Mhm.
Like I would have chosen something like eWebinar that's industry agnostic, language and geography agnostic, line of business agnostic. But I learned all that, right? So yes, it was really painful. However, I do think that you've got your startup journey and you've got like your life journey that
Mhm.
happens at the same time. And what I love most about that business is it took me to New York. That's where I met David, who's my life partner and now my co-founder to eWebinar. I met him in my house. He was like he was our first Airbnb guest. And so it gave me the adventure of a lifetime to live in New York and
Mhm.
meet all these friends. And because of him, we left New York to Nomad for 3 years. And during that time, we found Amsterdam like as a new home. Like he was like New York was kind of the butterfly effect.
Mhm.
And he was kind of like the cherry on top to like launch my personal life
Mhm.
into another direction. And eWebinar is a product that allows us to have that life because I don't do demos, I don't do onboarding, I don't do training. Everything is done through the product. So,
Mhm.
yes, I would have done things differently, but I couldn't have because this is my life.
Mhm. Yeah, so okay, so a couple of things here. Blue ocean comes with its own risk. There's opportunity for sure within it, but there's risk and you need the balance sheet to be able to to absorb it. and,
Yeah.
and
Well,
for
you need
many
time, right?
bootstrappers out
Yeah.
there listening right now, it may be a different moment in time to pursue that. Maybe like exit 2 or exit 3 later, in full exit, liquidity event exit, or maybe a different model in the form of a venture. And, there's different vehicles for different reasons. If you find something that's already proven profitable and working, that you could slightly innovate into purple ocean and you have potentially a slightly better position for it. And in your practical experience, yeah, the journey, there's always value in the journey, right? It's the life in which we live, and we need to appreciate it and find the value and extract the value within it. Hindsight's always 2020. Some folks listening, they've yet to have the opportunity to live it. They have the ability to change from it, live, learn lessons. Purpose of the pod is to potentially influence and shift. Would you suggest to somebody to pay themselves last, or would you suggest to somebody to find themselves in a better vehicle where they can pay themselves first?
So I used to think that founders should pay themselves last because if you don't suffer, then you don't love your company enough. That is a myth, right? I think that if founders don't take care of themselves, then they don't have the healthy mental space to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I would have done that differently.
And you
I
do a great
just,
job covering that in your content in the form of a burnout and the form of being able to position yourself appropriately. You even earlier in this pod talked about longevity and knowing that that was the reason for the exit, the trigger event. And it wasn't going to be, it was a good business, but not a great business.
yeah,
Typically, when folks say great business, they typically mean like a business in which I want to own forever and continue to enjoy doing, which I think is like a great highlight key. Tips and tricks for folks living in that
yeah. I mean,
feeling.
I think that nowadays with like the ability to outsource and communication being so much easier on Slack and all those things like Zoom, um, I would have been able to build that business at a lot lower cost.
Mm,
It's not that I don't support like hiring locally, right? Like, but as a bootstrap company, you can only hire where you can afford.
mhm,
And that's what we do, for eWebinar. If eWebinar wasn't like a fully outsourced company, we wouldn't be able to build this thing. We would have had to raise money
mhm.
because it took a year and a half to like get this out to market. So I would, yeah. I mean, now I'm kind of on the other camp where like founders should pay themselves first and take care of themselves first because you got to give yourself that oxygen mask, right?
Yeah. Now the 2 month period in time of the transition, that seems extremely short, except in a couple of situations and circumstances. I've talked to founders. They already had the preconceived notion of the next business
Mhm.
prior to getting out of the last. Other situations, like getting into the exit, it was actually strategically positioned for the next one. Some folks, they just
Yeah.
have it. It's like
Yeah.
a Stockholm syndrome, like coping mechanism. I gotta get into this.
Yeah.
What was it for you? So 2 months
Yeah.
is a pretty short period between one exit to the next. It was really cool to hear that the exit was organic and it came from the function of a relationship, and it was
Yeah.
perfectly positioned in terms of where they were looking to go in terms of their strategy. You quite literally built a perfect vehicle for path to liquidity, which I think also is a great lesson for bootstrappers out there to hear. You can quite literally design path to the liquidity in the way in which you bootstrap a business by finding potential exit partners and building into them and being a perfect fit for their play and as well as
Yeah. I
yours.
mean, I actually wrote about this like last month, I think, is like there were a bunch of things that we did that made our business viable that we were like we weren't building to sell. I think that's the main thing. Like I just didn't want to work for anyone. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to build a business that would pay me a salary. But because we were bootstrapped, a lot of things had to be really efficient.
It was the
And
happenstance of it.
because it was efficient, it was viable.
Mhm.
Like it was a no-brainer because we were profitable. Everybody was covered. We had
Mhm.
low burn because we were in Canada. We had a really good set of customers. We had really good relationships with each customer.
Keystones, yeah.
We focused a lot on the product and design, so people loved the product, right? And
And a
like it had
clean
a good
cap.
brand. Yeah, it was super clean cap. It had, like, and we could say yes or no to anything, right? We
Mhm.
didn't need permission. So all those things together made it easy. Of course,
Mhm.
like to sell a business is still hard, as you know, but it made it easier than something else that wasn't profitable, had a messy cap table, didn't have a lot of customers, had a lot of technical debt. Like we didn't have any of that,
Yeah. And life
right?
changing, like quite literally celebrate and elevate. These are life changing moments. And for folks listening, they're attainable. They could be pursued, they can be realized, and they matter. And from every exit is a potential for a new beginning, whatever that journey is going to be.
Yeah.
We shifted to eWebinar. Did you have the concept? I know that you were solving your own problem and pain that you
Yeah.
lived in. Did you know, like, quite literally, I'm going to go and start this right away? Or
No. No, I honestly just had like so much PTSD that I didn't want to start something, but I didn't really have a choice because I think I was like 37 at the time. The world was changing so fast already, like pre-AI. And I knew that whatever I started, it would be 5 years before we even see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's just how long it takes,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think that, like, yes, you can build things faster now, whatnot, but it's never been harder to get attention. And even harder now. Like, I don't envy anyone that's building a company today, right? It's easy to build a product, but the product is the easiest part. How do you get money? How do you get eyeballs, right? And so I didn't want to take a few years break and then not know where the world was and lose that momentum and then have it be even harder and then be working for who knows how long. Right. I wanted to kind of like, it's almost like in university. I hated school so much that I took summer classes every year so that I didn't have many classes in my last semester. So I was like trying to front load. And so I had all these different ideas and I didn't really know what to choose because all of them seemed hard. I think there's lots of ideas that look easy, like that look like they have commercial value. But once you start digging, then you start realizing why they could be hard. And I just had so much PTSD about the pain in getting my first two companies off the ground that I didn't want to choose something so quickly, so like frivolously. But what I did was I wrote 10 non-negotiables that I needed in order to be happy. Not to have a good business, but to be happy personally. And these were all things that I learned from Spaceo. So for example, I didn't want to do any more live demos. I didn't want to do any more in real life events because in real estate, that's how they sell. You have to meet the person in real life, like through conferences. So like first quarter of every year, I was just like in conferences and on the plane. I wanted a product that could sell 100% through the internet. So like self-serve, because that was an enterprise product. So I had to talk to everybody. I wanted something that didn't have any of those limitations. So like geography, language, industry, line of business. I wanted something that like could have limitless potential. So I made a list of all those things and I want a completely remote team. I personally wanted to be remote. So all those things. And by looking at that list, I eliminated almost every idea except for eWebinar. And even then I was scared
I like
to
that
jump
mental
in.
model. Yeah.
Because I was like, well, there's already so many things out there. Is it going to be, is it going to be too competitive? What does it take to build something like this? Who am I going to build it with? Because I didn't want to build it with the same co-founder. And I remember talking to my friend who's like the best second mover. And he was like, how would you...
Such a good...
Yeah.
He's the best second
He was
mover.
like...
It's a great place to be.
Yeah. And he has a multi-$100 million business right now.
Oh, I believe. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It is a great place to build. Yeah.
And he was like, how would you feel if someone built this tomorrow and it wasn't you? And I was like, oh, I would hate that because of how many years I've been thinking about it. Because I'm like, if I were to build a product like this, this is all the bells and whistles it would have.
Yeah, you felt ownership of it before.
I would hate that so much. And actually, I didn't believe that something like this didn't exist. So every quarter, I would go search for a new automated webinar solution. But it doesn't exist. So it was because when I realized that, I like immediately incorporated the business. And that was like 2 months after and just started building it. But for the year and a half that I was building, I didn't really need a lot of personal input because it was just kind of like design and development.
Yeah.
So I was able to work for my acquirer while I was doing this on the side, and I just hired a bunch of contractors on the side. So I like kind of work on it, but it didn't require a ton of attention.
Love this. So a couple of things here. Mental model is amazing, but that mental model for folks listening, so trying to drive connectivity, it came from a couple of places. First, the pain of doing it. So you did this many times before, several, and you had a reason why. Like you felt the pain, you lived the pain, you knew this is for a purpose. Quite literally, living through the life of essentially paying yourself last, the self-sacrifice, which essentially also pushed you to even do this journey 2 months after, because it also feels like that's a pattern recognition too, all compounding effects. But because you had it, you did it. And because you lived it, you knew enough to start with this mental model of my checklist. And you built it for yourself, around yourself, through your own personal experience.
Well, I built it around what would make me happy.
Yeah. Which is a great
Like,
place to start, right? Yeah.
and before I was like, and I think a lot of people build for money. What is a product that would make me money? Right. And then they try to be happy after that.
Yeah.
Right. But that's why people live for weekends and evenings. Right. I
Yeah.
studied to be a lawyer. Now I'm a lawyer. Now I need to find happiness within that. But people change.
Yeah.
Right. But if you ask yourself, like, what are the things that make me happy? By the way, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
You find a product that serves that.
That fits that. It's a
Yeah. And
personal
then you can,
market fit.
yeah. And you can always learn the skills to make you successful, because guess what? Education is the easiest piece.
Yeah. I love how you applied that and you whittled it down to the last thing standing being a eWebinar. Amazing. For folks listening, it may put them at a disadvantage because they did not live enough to learn that lesson to
That's why
apply
they're
it.
listening to this.
But place to start, to your point, don't start with the pain. So if it's the first time that they're doing something, maybe that first time is like that second mover or something that's already proven profitable. Like maybe the first place to start is like just to get experience. Like find something that you know you could just kind of do. You know that you're going to do it for a couple of years at least to the point of traction. And then the
Yeah.
plan is to then leverage that into something with purpose and intentionality for longevity, ideally, because
Yeah.
a better life lived for sure.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think about exits, they have to be multi-million, but they don't have to be.
No, and they
Right?
really
To be
don't.
life-changing.
They
If
don't have
you
to
come
be.
from nothing, if you have zero in your bank account, right? If you're or if you're living paycheck to paycheck, a few $100,000 in your bank account will change your life
Game
today.
changer. Game
You don't
changer.
have to, and to build something that sells for like 500,000 is significantly different than trying to aim for something
Mhm.
that will sell for 50 million.
Yeah, the
It's a
mental
whole
model,
different
yeah.
ballgame. It's a whole different lifestyle. And
And
or if you build a business that can give you 10K a month
Mhm.
to float yourself and then you can go explore, that's also life-changing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if your first one, you should aim low, not high.
If you start right, there's a higher chance of potentially finishing right. And if you put yourself in the right trajectory of a goal line, it is much higher probability of getting to 500,000 than 500 million or
Yeah.
50 million. Like your odds, you're just stacking it in your advantage, and the pressure to be able to do it changes and your framework changes. Now, you've been able to live this life full of lessons. We are well into our journey with eWebinar, right? It is running, and you are still a person,
Yes.
quite literally living and learning as we continue to speak. And I know that you've gone through a couple of moments in time just based off of following on LinkedIn and the content you put out, different periods of burnout and reinventing and finding perspective and finding purpose and finding why. Where are you right now in this moment in time? And have you had any recent realizations that could potentially be of value to share?
I mean, that's such a huge question. I went through my first, I guess, burnout last year, mid last year. I didn't realize that was burnout because I didn't have the experience for it. It didn't show up like, oh, I'm exhausted. It was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like I don't have any inspiration. I can't write. I don't, I'm not motivated. And I decided to take a couple months easy and maybe I'll come back. And then I never did. And then I went through this whole period of like, is it over for me? And I started negotiating with myself, like, what's the least amount I could sell what I have for so I could retire? Because I don't want to work after this.
Mm.
But the revenue is not high enough for me to have like a retirement exit. So now I feel like stuck. But why can't, like, self-motivation and consistency has never been a hard thing for me. It's always been like easy for me.
Yeah,
So that was really weird to kind of live through. And I went to a couple like self-development retreats through a referral, a recommendation from my friend. One is called Hoffman, which I think is pretty big in the US, the Hoffman process.
Mhm.
And it helps connect like who you are and why you are the way you are to like your childhood and your parents. And I didn't really know that was linked, but now I know everything is linked
Mhm.
because of that. A month after that, I went to another retreat called Rise Higher. And that was where I started to like untangle all this stuff that I didn't know existed. Like, so all the self doubt, the lack of confidence, that comes from like early childhood programming. We all have like some level of that, but that was mine.
Mhm.
So not feeling I was good enough to take the company to the next level and then causing procrastination. And I basically took a year off to work on myself because it was necessary.
Mhm.
Like I would not be the person I am today. I would not have the clarity and the confidence that I am today if I didn't go through that period.
Was that?
However,
Mhm.
because of that period and I took my eye off the ball for this business, it didn't grow for a year. So it's a bit of a death sentence, I guess, for a startup if you have a flat growth rate for a year. And so my goal right now is to get back into growth rate,
Mhm.
get back into growth mode, sorry, and I'm really figuring out like, okay, where do I devote my time? Because guess what? From the moment I took my eye off the ball to now, the entire world has changed
Mhm.
because of AI. Marketing's changed. All of our SEO that used to work dropped like 80%.
Mhm.
Our trials have dropped more than 50%. So all the revenue that we're making from like, the add-ons or whatnot is just making up for people that are leaving, but we're not actually adding that much more.
Mm.
So now we're dealing with like, okay, what are the levers that we need to pull now? And what are the things that we didn't have in place that we should have had? And how do we get back into growth mode by me focusing on things that are important? But at the same time, I'm also asking myself, okay, how badly do I want to win?
Mm.
And what kind of lifestyle do I want? Because there's multiple different outcomes for this business that I don't know. While I took time off, I was still having fun, like socially. So what David and I are very good at, David's my co-founder, also my life partner, is having fun. And you realize that you actually don't need to make a lot of money to have a really good life,
Mhm.
like amazing life, right? Like we already travel, we see our friends, we go to Burning Man, like our friends at birthdays will go. Like we're like the yes people because we have all this freedom, we have all this time freedom. And then you realize like it actually doesn't cost a lot to, if you're pretty cost conscious to like fly halfway across the world, spend a week in an Airbnb, like how much more do you actually need? So this is the question I'm asking myself, right? Is like, what am I doing this for? Right? How
Mhm.
how big do I want this to get?
Mhm.
Am I willing to put in the sacrifices?
Mhm.
How badly do I want to win?
Mhm.
Right? And how hard, I guess, do I want to work for this business? And I don't have like exact answers to that right now, but that's where I am now.
Mhm.
But then, regardless of all that, we still have to get the company back into growth. And one of the things that we're doing is focusing all of our attention in 2026 back onto the real estate industry, which I haven't done
Back to the
since
roots.
inception.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was just like, I'm so sick of real estate. I don't want to talk about anything real estate. We're just going to sell this product to like customer success teams, marketing teams, to like any of them, industry agnostic. But at the same time, if you want to make real impact in a very small area, um, if you want to make real impact in one area, you have to pick a really small area
Mhm.
to do that in first, and then you kind of expand from there.
Mhm.
I probably could have known that 5 years ago, but I
Yeah.
didn't want
Now,
to. Yeah.
for folks listening, it's like the riches are in the niches. Find an ICP, get very hyper specific, solve that problem, do it very, very well, repeatably over a long period of time, and then scale from there. If you ever even have to, because niches, they sound small with a word, but reality is market's very big.
Well, the reason Spaceo was acquired was because we were best of class in open houses.
Yeah.
So if you're best of class anywhere, right? If you're best of class in automated webinars, if you're best of class, digital contracts, whatever, right? For a specific industry, like somebody's going to buy you.
Mhm.
That's just what happens. And then it's your decision at that point if you want to keep growing it.
Yeah.
But because of my past, I already have a good number of customers that are in real estate. And guess what? Like, I conceptualize this product for people like me who are trying to train real estate agents
Yeah, you got the
that don't
muscle
have
there.
schedules, but I didn't do that. Instead, I was like, I'll just sell to everyone. And so now, like you said, just going back to the roots of like, okay, we designed this product to sell, to train independent contractors who don't have schedules. So we should just do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's where the reps have been put in. The muscle memory is there. You've already done the hard work. Leverage it.
Yeah.
Right? Work
But
smart,
every
not
sale
hard.
is still hard.
Yeah. Well,
Every sale.
without a doubt. I love the fact that you were comfortable sharing this journey and this story, inclusive in the one in which you're endeavoring to traverse right now. And the question being, what are we willing to do in order to and what is the definition of win? Because that also, you change your perspective, you change your approach. Maybe you already are. And listening to this story and this conversation in today's pod, I'm extremely grateful for having had the opportunity to be a part of it. I appreciate it for myself, but I also appreciate it for those listening, because I feel like a lot of what we touched on touches close to a lot of different people who are currently at different moments in time, from whether it's just get started and find the place to start. If we are getting started, hopefully you start right so you could finish right, maybe avoid some of the pain of that live learn lessons, all the way through to exits and then renew. Everything that ends also is a new beginning. And we're all on this journey that is life and is a very long road. For this episode, I am thinking that we bring it to an end. However, if you're open to it, I would love to have you back on if we were to touch base in terms of kind of where you are and then the journey, continuation of the journey traversing as you navigate through. It's quite literally what we just touched on. Who am I? How big? What sacrifice? What is win? What do we need to do? Navigating these waters of growth mode in this new world of AI, which that could have been a whole episode onto itself, like quite literally the tactics that are like working right now versus not, and just like sinking into getting like nerding out on like actually moving the meter on the biz. But for this episode, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure. Trust the process, commit to the journey, bootstrap into billions.
Thanks so much.
If I could do it all again.
Struggling business? It's time to exit with ownership. Join the Exit Studio. Build equity. Unlock capital. Exit with ownership. Keep it simple.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And
you gotta have that grit, that hustle to make it in this city. Never give up.